to another edition of Flea Market Fantasy, the world's second greatest Bronze Age era comic book podcast. Joining me as always is new Michael, Kevin, Jack.
Hey, I'm here, Mike Dell, for what's going to be, I'm sure, a marathon episode. We're going 2 hours long at least tonight.
I don't think so. I think it's going to be a pretty quick
Oh,
one. But yeah, why don't you tell the people what we're reading today, Jack?
today we're going to be reading Spider-Woman number 48 from 1982, I think. 1982?
83, I believe.
Oh, 83, yeah.
And the reason you picked this issue was because of the villain, who is
One of the pantheon. If you're doing a Mount Rushmore of Marvel villains, I think you got Doctor Doom, you got Red Skull, and then you got Gypsy Moth.
Yeah, she's like right ahead of Thanos. It's
Yeah.
Gypsy Moth, and then so, yeah, that's our first experience with Gypsy Moth. And apparently she can control cloth and your hair.
Very strange power. Like, I don't see the connection there. Apparently, well, you kind of learn the issue. She can control anything she damn well pleases. It's just like some things are hard, so she doesn't bother. She can only move soft things without having an issue. I don't know.
She can control people's hair.
Give your balls a tug, Gypsy Moth.
Make sure you shave them before you go into fight with Gypsy Moth.
That's right.
You could be in trouble. All right, so anyway, that's what we're reading here today. And let's remind everybody, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. I think we're up to 354 subscribers, so I believe we picked up 2. Yeah, so that's
we'll lose them with this one.
Yeah, probably. And let's remind everybody, if we get to 500, Jank is going to make me read The Dark Knight Returns.
Oh, please let it happen sometime this year.
It's not going to happen. Also, I have a book out there called Monkey Flip about a chimp detective. It's well. All right,
that did come out, unlike our Dark Knight Return review, which may never happen.
But, so Spider-Woman, you mentioned last week on the show that we had done a Spider-Woman here before your tenure as co-hosts.
That's right.
Like 4 years ago or something, Michael and I
way back during year 1 of the pandemic.
Yeah, I think I remember Carmine Infantino was the artist. I think she was fighting the Brothers Grimm or something.
Oh, yeah, they're terrible.
Yeah. So
nothing but like Z-listers for Spider-Woman.
Yes. So just a quick recap on Spider-Woman. Real name Jessica Drew. And her first appearance was Marvel Spotlight 32, 1976. Although in that issue she was called Arachne.
Ooh, glad they changed that.
Yes. Yeah. And then in Marvel 2-in-1, issue 29, 1977, was her first appearance as Spider-Woman. And she was created by Archie Goodwin, Sal Buscema, and Marie Severin. And her backstory is a little weird. Oh,
boy, yeah, it's like a DC backstory. They retcon this thing so many times.
Yeah, like I think the one I know is that her dad worked with the High Evolutionary as like an assistant or whatever.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And and her mom and her lived like at the what was the name of that mountain? Mount Wundagore.
Wundagore. Yeah.
Wundagore. So they were living there. And but they were doing all this research with like uranium and stuff. So young Jessica started getting sick from radiation poisoning or something from the uranium, or I don't know.
Yeah, that'll happen if you put that in your mouth.
So her dad had to come up with a way to try and heal her. So he created some experimental serum from the blood or whatever of spiders, And,
Sweet.
And he injected it in her, but they also had to put her in like stasis, like in a little chamber, and she was in there for decades, right?
That's right. Yeah, they kind of artificially aged her up in there. Or I guess not artificially, but she just was very sheltered.
Yeah, she was like, but by the time she came out of there, she was a grown woman, and she had no history of the outside world. And so one of them deals, kind of like, who did we just deal? We just had some other hero who was like this. Is it the Aquarian?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I think so. But
Yeah.
anyway, um, so she could climb walls like a Spider-Man and whatnot. And she can also she has a couple other extra abilities. She can shoot bioelectric energy blasts out of her hands, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And she also has like pheromones that can mess with you, right?
Yep. In the old Marvel Puzzle Quest, one of her moves is she uses her pheromones either to, attract you or cause you to feel intense fear.
Oh, all
So
right.
maybe if you use them both at once, you can give someone like a fear boner, and that's just awkward.
So, yeah, that's Jessica Drew. What else should we know about her? Anything?
Um, well, I mean, Marvel certainly likes their private eyes named Jessica. Apparently,
Yeah,
that's a
because
big
yeah,
thing for
she
them.
she did work as a private eye, and I was reading her like I don't know what was this from 2016 or so, right? She had a series, and I read a few
Oh, the
issues of
one where
that.
she was pregnant. Yeah, that
Yeah,
seemed
and
like
she
a
had a
bad
baby.
idea.
I can't remember who was the father. I can't even remember.
I want to say it was like a sperm donor type situation. I don't
Uh,
even think it was like, a real person
I
that she
do
knew or
remember
anything
that
like
the
that.
babysitter was Porcupine. I do remember that.
Seems like an odd choice.
It was
I mean, at least Luke Cage and Jessica Jones had a Squirrel Girl there for a while. Like, at
Monkey
least she's
Joe.
a
Was Monkey
hero.
Joe around?
Probably.
I
He's a good
hope to God.
nursemaid.
I hope to God Monkey Joe is around. All right, so that's Spider Woman. Now the villain here, Gypsy Moth. Her backstory is in this issue, so we'll get to it when we get to it. But her real name is Sybil
It takes
Dvorak.
all of 8 panels to tell,
Yeah,
so.
it's very detailed. Real name is Sybil Dvorak. Her first appearance was Spider Woman issue 10, 1978, created by Mark Grunwald and Carmine Infantino.
Hey,
And
look at that. Yes,
uh,
I guess she appeared early on in the series, and then they forgot about her for a while, probably for the best, and then kind of brought her back here at the end.
yeah, this is issue 48, and the series ended with issue 50. So,
Yep.
and do
Yeah.
you remember how the series ended? Like what they did?
You know what? I was looking at that today actually because the cover looks cool. I was like, oh, maybe I should have picked this one, but it's a strange ending. Apparently, it involves Morgan Le Fay, right? Who we were just talking about
Yeah,
last week. Yeah.
and in the Doctor Doom and Iron Man, remember because last week I was like, isn't her name Morgan Le Fay? Why is it Morgana? But yeah, so in the Spider Woman issue, it's Morgan, and then and the other one's Morgana. So I guess like the myth of Morgana Le Fay, the old mythology, her name would, depending on what version you read, her name was different. So
Oh shit, one of
and even
those.
the spelling was different on the last name. So
So
yeah, I don't
basically,
know.
that's really just the fault of editorial is really who
Yeah, I
it
don't
is.
know if
Huh?
like Marvel then decided, you know what, we're going to do it. But that was really only like 2 years apart too, like 81 and 83. So, um,
Yeah.
but yeah, because I thought wasn't her name Morgan, but yeah, it really was.
Maybe
Um,
she came, to the 20th century and she's like, hey, this
yeah,
is old timey. I gotta
yes,
change with the times.
they're going to think I'm that kissing bandit. I got to cut off my hair. So she's, but yeah, she was Morgan Le Fay. But anyway, for some reason, she was hunting down Jessica Drew, and like she had a big blood feud with her, and like Jessica went onto the astral realm to fight her, right?
Yeah.
And she ended up destroying Morgan Le Fay's earthly body, but then Morgan Le Fay barred astral Jessica Drew from going back into her body. Correct?
Yeah, that's right. And then I
So
think her body seemingly died, right? Like they thought she was dead, or that she
yeah,
couldn't get back in. But yeah,
like when that issue ended, like she was they were just killing her. But I guess they
yeah.
did bring her back not long after that because the
There was some like
writers,
Magus guy, like some old timey wizard, I
yes,
guess, from the Arthur times, who had. She was like, "Hey, my friends are gonna be sad that I'm dead, so why don't you just cast a spell and make everyone forget I ever existed?"
he really hated her. Let's cancel this
Let's
book.
wipe this character from existence.
But oh, you mentioned that it's issue 50 though, and you like the cover because the cover had like a real lady dressed in a Spider-Man outfit, Spider-Woman
Yeah,
outfit,
yeah.
and,
It'd be weird
and
if it was Spider Man.
then there's a Gypsy Moth on that cover as well, and like
Yep.
she's clinging to the outside of a building, and like there's a fire escape, and there's Gypsy Moth line, and there's a bunch of other villains. Werewolf by
I
Night is
think
in there,
Werewolf on Air. Yep. Saw him on
and
there.
they're all like real people playing these parts, and it's tough to tell. But there's Tiger down there on the fire escape, and the lady playing Tigra is actually Ann Nesenti, the writer of this issue.
Whoa, who knew?
Yeah, yes, but you would never
And
be
the
able to tell
Senti,
because
a
like the way the
bombshell.
lighting is and everything. But yeah. So Ann Nocenti is the writer here, and her first issue was issue 47, and
Got there right as the party was ending.
well, they knew it was ending, I guess.
Okay.
And she had never written an actual like comic book before. Like we gave her whole backstory years ago. She was on the Daredevil run when John Romita Jr. was the artist, and I think that's when we talked about her.
Created Typhoid Mary.
Yeah, I'm a big Ann Nocenti fan. She was a Uncanny X-Men editor for that and the New Mutants for 4 years as well.
Yep.
And
Created Long Shot
yep,
and all that Mojoverse stuff. That was all her.
and she didn't like grow up wanting to be in the comic books or anything. She went, I forget what she graduated from school with, like college. I think she's like a journalist, maybe a media studies or something. I don't know. But she just answered Nat in the Village Voice. They were like, she didn't even, I don't think, if memory serves, she didn't even know it was Marvel. Like, she just showed up and it was like, oh, yeah. So they hired her to like help around the office or something or do little stories for, these different books, little minor books they had, like one shot deals. And then Mark Runwell came up to her one day and said, hey, you want to be the writer of Spider Woman? I know you've barely read any comic books in your life. Would you like to? Because they knew it was ending, and she was like a writer from college. So it's almost the reverse of what Marvel used to do, where they would hired fans who had no writing knowledge and let them write, and she actually had a education in writing and no interest in comics. So it's kind of reversed, you know. But if you go in the back of this issue we're reading today, I think it's this one. There's a little letters column back there, and Anne like gives a little blurb about how she became the writer. And she said that she was just sitting around the office, and Mark Runwell came up and said, "Hey, would you like to, write it?" And he said he was taking a long shot on her, and she put long shot in all caps. But
Oh.
like, is that a coincidence? Because this is 2 years before. Um,
Wow. I mean, that could have inspired her to use that name
yeah,
later on. Like that's
probably.
maybe that's her nickname around the office, like Long Shot.
Maybe. But yeah, so she like a couple years later, her and Art Adams did the long shots here, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, big Ann Nocenti fan here. A lot of her stuff, like especially in the Daredevil run, she always did stuff for like social causes and stuff, like you know,
Yeah. Some of her stuff I've noticed as I get older, very
yeah,
strange. Like Ann Nocenti was just writing for Ann Nocenti in a lot of
yes,
ways. Like
for a long time. But she was talented. Though. She was good.
sure, yep. Some of it's
But
very good, some of it's very strange.
a little heavy-handed at times with the social stuff. But I
Even
like
this
Ann.
issue, the way the punks talk, I'm gonna
Yeah.
guarantee you there was no punks talking like that in 1982.
Uh, I'm guessing she wasn't hanging out with a lot of street toughs in her day. The artist here is a fellow named Brian Postman. I had never heard of him. Do you have any knowledge of Brian Postman?
Nope. Did he
Yeah,
deliver mail?
he only had 8 credits at Marvel, including Spider Woman 47 to 50. So he came in with Ann here to close it out, and he also did his other notable work, Captain America Annual Issue 7. So, but
Oh,
that's all
that's my
he.
favorite one. I
Yeah,
actually don't know what that is.
that's all I got from Brian Postman. So, yeah.
Huh. Not a lot out there, huh? Very, very
No, I
limited
think I think
creator.
sadly the only article I found on I think he died recently or whenever this article was that I didn't even look at the date.
Oh,
But I think he was 65 when he died. And it seems like he did a little work in comics, couldn't make go of it, so he went into storyboarding for various things. And but yeah, so Brian Postman.
hmm.
It's
Maybe he worked on Alf at some point.
let's
I can
hope.
only hope.
Let's hope. All right, so let's look at this cover, Jank. Why don't you describe it for us?
Okay, it's an interesting cover, I guess. So we got the little corner box, little M up there for Marvel, and then we got a very strange picture of Spider Woman in the corner box there. She's kind of bent over, just flaunting those boobs, I guess. She's trying to motorboat the reader.
Yeah, it
I
looks
don't
like
know.
someone just punched her in the belly, and she's
Yeah, but she has her glowing, zappy hand going, so she's getting ready for that.
that is a
Oh,
very strange corner box. I'm guessing that's Carmine Infantino, but
yeah, could be.
uh,
I don't know. She's like hunched over, like this was designed for a smaller corner box, but like
yes,
now we have all this extra space. for activities. We get the little banner across the top. This is Marvel Comics Group. The Spider Woman logo here, I guess it's black, but something I don't know in the way this is scanned. It looks like it was almost like chromium or something, and like it was scanned weird because it looks like a strange shade of black to me. Like it's not,
You can see
it's
some
not
blue
thick all the
through
way
it, like
through.
almost it's transparent, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's like it's a foil cover, but it just doesn't work in the
yeah, I don't think it
scanning.
was foil cover back in the
Yeah, it's too
yeah.
early for something that cool. Then it's mostly white background. They saved on the background here. They're like, we could draw stuff, but why? Just leave it at white. And there's just kind of a an oriental rug hanging on the window. I guess that's
Well, that's a
tapestry.
deadly weapon for Gypsy
Yeah,
Moth. So.
that's her ammo bag. Gypsy Moth is there. She's in her orange and kind of brown costume. I think someone who could control fabric would make herself something better looking than orange and brown. But
That's a real shot at the Cleveland Browns. Holy hell.
I said what I said. And she's got her big yellow like gossamer wings, as we come to find out later on. And then over in the right side there, you got Spider Woman, and she's kind of in like some kind of Japanese hentai movie, where nothing but tentacles grabbing onto her, but they're all made of cloth. And they're pinning her down and grabbing. One's grabbing her around the throat. One's got her by the waist, and her legs are getting it. So yeah, she's just getting torn in all directions by this purple tapestry.
And what does the text there at the bottom say?
It says, "Unravel the mystery of Gypsy Moth." Oh,
What a
see that?
mystery to unravel.
Yeah, there is no mystery here. I don't know what they're talking about.
I did check other versions of the cover, and it does just appear to be black letters everywhere I look. So,
Okay. Yeah, it's just kind of weird. Weird
yeah.
scan.
All right. So, yeah, it's Brian Postman on the art here for the cover as well.
Yeah.
I
He
mean,
did
it's
a
a
he did
good
a good
cover.
job.
Yeah,
Yeah. Got
I
no
like
issues
it.
with this art.
All right. For some reason, I can't get the issue to load, so I'm stalling.
Well, this issue opens up with probably the best scene in the entire book.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Yeah. Walk us through it. Well, I do remember this. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're in Los Angeles, where Jessica Drew is headquartered at this time, and she's like, so bright tonight. The moon's almost full. That means the crime rate will go up. That old lunar pull draws out the worst in people. Meanwhile, there's a guy. He's walking towards a bench like a homeless guy, and he's got a bag. He's like, oh, maybe he's doing something shady here. And she's like, home. Hope you're home, David. She gets in the phone booth. She's calling, hi, baby, it's Jessica. And meanwhile, that homeless man, he is now sitting on the bench. Apparently, that bag was full of bird seed, and he is just dumping it over himself, on his head, on his chest, just all over with the
On
bird
his
seed.
crotch. Yeah.
Yep. And Jessica in the phone booth is just like, what the? And yeah, now the birds have come in and they're just pecking this guy all over his body, and he is in hog heaven. He is way into this.
He's loving it. Yeah.
It's like the perverted version of that pigeon lady from Home Alone 2. Like, I don't think she was into that kind of shit, but this guy, oh, he is way into it.
Uh, yeah. What's the narration here? The bum's nobody. He could be anybody. He's everybody. All he wants is a little bit of love, a little snitch of affection. And for a moment here, he thinks he has it. But the dirty little birds just have their dirty little minds, I think, on the
Yeah.
crumbs. So,
Yep.
but he's still loving it, and that comes
However you get
back.
your kicks.
That comes back into play later on. I forgot to look up who this David fella is that she's dating. Do you have any idea?
Yeah. No, I'm not too familiar with her love life, especially back then.
Yeah.
I guess whoever he was, he forgot about her in 2 issues when she cast that spell.
So we see some. You mentioned some street punks, um, like punk rockers. There's a girl with a short pink hair and a guy with a mohawk,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all wearing like '80s punk neon clothes and glasses and stuff.
Yeah, these look like my kind of people, but
Young Kevin Jank. So, but they're running around smashing windows and stealing stuff off of ladies walking on the street, stealing their mink stoles, and They even stole her dog, it looks like.
Yeah, the dog's got hair. I guess they could use that.
Yeah, you're like, what are these street punks doing? Yeah, they're going around smashing windows, just stealing everything they can that has like cloth.
This is
So
the weird part. They go to a taxidermist. They're like flamingos, minks, and peacocks. Like,
yeah.
does feathers? I mean, does that count? And they're like stealing like turtle shells and shit. Like, wait a minute, where do we draw the line here? How is a turtle shell like cloth?
So now we cut over to Jessica. She's out of her Spider Woman outfit, and she shares a room with her friend Lindsay McCabe.
Yeah,
Do you have any idea who Lindsay McCabe is?
I've definitely heard that name before. And wasn't I think she when we did that Wolverine issue where he was in Madripoor, didn't he run into
Oh,
the two of them like they were hanging out?
that's a possibility. Yeah,
Yeah. So
that
I think
does
she was
sound.
kind of a long-term, back supporting character in this book.
All right, yeah, that does sound familiar. But she's talking to Lindsay's trying to be an actress, and she had a rough go of it, I guess. Not,
Yeah.
not much luck at the old auditions. But she says, "Hey, at
They
least
just gave
I'm
it to the producer's niece like they always do.
like Mulholland Drive. There's a big conspiracy
Yeah.
keeping her."
This is the girl.
So, what was I going to say here? But she says, "Hey, I met some people who invited me to a party tonight. It's going to be pretty cool if you want to go." And she's like, "Nah, that's okay. I got to go." Jessica Drew wants to go glide through the city. She wants to do, and also, um,
Go
what did
check
she
on
say? Yes,
Jack Russell.
yes,
The old yeah.
Werewolf by Night guy,
Yep.
old Jack Russell.
They make a big deal of her going to check on this guy, but it really doesn't factor into the plot at all. She does it at the end, but what was the point? Like, there was
Well, I guess
this
it.
was all kind of a mishmash of random things that didn't coalesce into any kind of theme.
Well, I think it's continuing. Like I opened up the next issue, and it opens with her and Jack Russell. So, um,
Okay. Yeah, it's just set up for future things,
yeah,
I guess. But
because then, yeah, when we get to the end, we'll talk about it. But yeah, so we just see her gliding through the city because her costume, she's got like wings underneath her arms, like the web wings,
yeah,
kind
like
of.
Spider-Man sometimes has and
Yeah,
sometimes doesn't.
but hers are like really pronounced, and
Hmm.
yeah, they kind of connect to her hips. Uh, how about that? So anyway, she's flying through the city there, and she hears some of them street punks talking about well, she's trying to find like or maybe that's later where she's really trying to track down the drugs.
Yeah, she
Uh,
kind of is just looking for anything basically at first. She's just like, I don't know. I'll just fly around, hope I find something. And she
yeah,
randomly sees like another homeless guy who's like, faking people for donations, pretending he's blind by just rolling his eyeballs back in his head.
like the Undertaker.
And he like thinks she's weird. Like, why are you doing in this alley? So he can start to mentioning drugs or something. Like, boy, she's creepy. Anybody that makes my skin crawl has got to want drugs. And so he kind of mentions, we can get a bunch of drugs at the docks. And she's like, oh, I guess that's something. I can go bust up some drug runners down at the docks.
Oh yeah,
Cool.
because like she said, you're not blind, and he's like, no, he good trick. And she was saying something about to give her money for something, but he says, how about buying me a loose joint? And she says, it's not loose joints I'm after, something bigger. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, you mentioned how he was thinking, how she's creepy. That's something Anne does here in this issue that's a little weird. Is she gets into the heads of just very minor characters.
Yes. I mean, that was kind of a thing even in her Daredevil stuff. Remember those all those
Yeah,
kids running around all the time and
that is true. But at least those kids were kind of like a recurring bit, right? Like those
Mhm.
ones with the helmet and everything. I remember
I
those
mean,
kids.
maybe that bum who likes getting pigeon pecked is is like a runner throughout the four issues. And
Yeah,
that's
but
why
like
they canceled it.
just random one panel people were getting their POV from inside their head, and a little strange. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, he tells her maybe down at the docks. So she goes flying around, questioning people for where these drugs are, and she's getting pretty rough with people. Just
Hmm.
this is a pretty cool page. That we get a big shot of her, Spider Woman, in the center of the page, and then we get three panels on either side of her, and um, she's just interrogating people, asking them about drugs,
Yeah.
and finally, some
Basically,
ladies,
everyone just keeps flipping, like, "Hey, I'm just a small guy.
yeah,
You want the big guys?"
that's right. Why are you bothering me, lady? And but then finally, this one lady says, "I'm just a nobody. Go where we get it from the boats. It's always the boats." So, and again, we she flies down and she sees a guy outside of a van unloading a box, and he recognized her as Spider Woman, obviously. And right away, we get inside her head, and he says, "Oh no, this lady's got a nasty rep." he starts
Oh,
he starts running. She grabs him and says, "Hey, where are we? Where are all these drugs?" And he says, "I think there's going to be a big party up at some lady named Sybarite." And that was the same name that her roommate had mentioned earlier. So now
mhm.
she's worried about her roommate. And then a bunch of street toughs start jumping Jessica Drew with bats and tire irons and everything. And they're like picking her up.
Yeah, apparently she does not have Spider-Man spider sense because she can be easily snuck up upon.
Well, she did dodge the first one, but then there's a panel of them just like punching her and kicking her.
Hmm.
But she fights back, and things are going well, Jank, until what happens?
Oh, well, the girl with the pink hair. She's been sharing needles, so
yes.
she injects one of her syringes full of drugs and just kind of sneaks up on Jessica Drew and injects her. So
Yeah,
she's
well,
probably got the AIDS now.
sadly, yes. Yeah, because she still has guys hanging on her back and punching them, and yeah, she sneaks up and stabs her in the thigh with it, and then she passes out. So now we cut over to Jack Russell walking down the street, and man, it snuck up on him, but there's a full moon, and he's like, "No, not already. Like, don't you have a watch? Like, you have to know. Like, what?
Yeah, I would be paying attention. If you know that these 3 days of the month you have to lock yourself up, know what time the sun sets on those days.
Like, don't be walking
Not
down
that
the
hard.
street.
Get a
Just
newspaper.
yeah, once it gets night, just maybe stay indoors." But
Hmm.
so he starts to panic. And then we cut over to Jessica Drew waking up, and she's now surrounded by them street toughs, but they're at a fancy party, and it's Gypsy Moth.
Whoa.
She's this symbiote person they were talking about, and she's sitting on like a just some steps, an ornate staircase in the middle of a room for some reason. I don't know what's going on. And all these street kids are following. They're like her pigeons.
Yeah.
She ties it back to the guy with the pigeons that she saw. How
Yep.
he needs the love of the pigeons, and she needs the love of all these street toughs. They worship her,
They sure do.
and Jessica Drew's giving it to Gypsy Moth, and just yelling at her. And she sees her buddy Lindsay. That's her name, right? Lindsay, yeah,
Yep.
Lindsay McCabe. And they have her. They like roofied her or something. They Bill Cosby'd her because she's drinking
Yeah.
something and she's all woozy.
Well, apparently we find out later on when they pump her stomach, she's full of all kind of stuff. Like they didn't just give her one; they gave her the wheel.
And so that pisses off Jessica, and she tries to lunge at Gypsy Moth. And then Gypsy Moth just says, "You have forgotten my power. I control fibers like clothing and hair." She just repels Jessica Drew somehow. And
By her hair, I think, or the cloth.
yeah, there's no telling really. But how does Gypsy Moth ever lose a fight? I don't know.
Right?
She
Everyone's wearing clothes.
or has hair.
I mean,
So,
Professor X could take her if he got naked, I guess.
so she starts
Or you get
fight.
Vic Mackey in there, just
you
have
and
him
Vic,
strip off.
you and Vic Mackey. I'm guessing he's not hairless down below that Vic
That's
Mackey.
true.
But
Probably not.
that's a Shield reference for those who don't know. But there's not Agents of Shield.
Yeah,
It's the
the
dopey
other shield.
Shield.
Oh,
But
the best shield. The non-acronym shield.
but all these like carpets and rugs are starting to like look like they're basically recreating the cover or going around Jessica Drew. But she gets mad. She just rips them off. And she zaps Gypsy Moth with her bioenergy blast. And
Yeah.
Gypsy Moth says, "Hey, that hurt. So I'm not fooling around anymore. I'm just going to control your hair." And she starts. And what does she do, Jake?
She flings Spider-Woman into an open pool by her hair. Like she
Yeah,
uses the hair to weigh her down so that it's keeping Jessica below water and drowning the crap out of her.
yeah, like in this jacuzzi or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like an in-ground jacuzzi in a hotel room or whatever. I don't know what's
Oof.
going on.
Yeah, I don't want to know what's going swimming around that water.
So while Jessica's drowning, Gypsy Moth takes a moment to reflect. And she's like, the Spider Woman, she was kind to
In
me
the
when we
reflective
first met.
surface of the the jacuzzi.
But she's like, but a friend? Nah, I have always been solitary, even as a child. And she starts remembering her childhood. Give us the origin of Gypsy Moth, Jake.
Oh, sit back, dear reader, for we're about to go on an epic adventure. So it turns out she actually was a gypsy. I guess that's why she's a gypsy moth. She was raised by Balkan gypsies. She was left with much time alone. As a child, she discovered she could reach out and touch things with her mind.
So
She
I guess
loved the
the
way.
implication is she's a mutant. Is that what we're?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I guess that's possible. Or this could be a high evolutionary situation. Gypsies, I feel like, was a right in that area. But she loved the way fibers, soft weaves, and flowers felt to her mental touch. Hard objects were abrasive, giving her psychic shudders. Again, just push past it if you want to be a real supervillain. Sybil was alluring and utterly naive. In her loneliness, she nurtured and fine-tuned her powers. One day, she wove gossamer wings on her back as delicate as herself. But I
Yeah,
guess she can just get rid of them as she wants to because they're
yeah,
gone. The rest
apparently.
of the origin story here. Then she's in Romania and she wandered onto the set of the remake of the movie Dracula. The star, a man much like the role he played, was smitten with her exotic beauty. He seduced her with fame and the bogus immortality of film.
I don't know if this guy would
Okay.
make a good Dracula. He's got a mustache.
I know. Well, who created this? The people who made Fantastic Four?
Shank is irate that Reed Richards has a mustache in the Fantastic Four.
Don't get me started.
So yeah, he takes her back to the United States, and
Yep. When the movie was finished, he flew her to America and set her up in his Los Angeles home. For all her beauty, she was but an exotic toy for the actor to be played with, then forgotten. As an illegal immigrant, Sybil was trapped in the rich man's house, a prisoner of love.
a prisoner of love. Story of my life.
He was constantly away on quote unquote trips. Sybil, left alone with her suspicions and hurt, slowly changed. The betrayal of her love was the original act that set her spirit moving on the wrong path. She used her powers to weave herself a disguise, where she gets her Gypsy Moth outfit. And as the Gypsy Moth began to wreak havoc on the Hollywood society, kept her loved ones from her. It was during one of these forays that she first met Spider Woman when the rich actor mysteriously died. She was left with his riches.
I wonder how he died. So
Yeah, I'm
mysterious.
guessing probably you. Look in the mirror.
Yeah, because then we get a little
Or
shot,
we got to find the real killer like OJ.
but we get a shot of her close up of her face, like looking off panel, off the page actually, and she's crying and she's thinking in her thought balloon, why couldn't he have just loved me? Why did he have to force me to? Yeah, so she killed him. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely was her.
All right, so we see Jessica Drew now under the water, and she's like running out of air. Only one choice. She just rips her hair off.
Yeah, that seems like an odd choice because she doesn't rip all of it out. There's still
Yeah,
like like a small bob cut left.
yeah. She doesn't like rip it out of the scalp. She grabs it in her left hand to pull it tight, and then in her right hand rips off the top above her hand. So
Mm-hmm.
gave her like a cute little pixie cut. And then,
Yep.
so now she hops out of the yeah, because there's still hair being controlled. So I guess Gypsy Moth is only controlling the tips of the hair. I don't know, but
Very limited range, apparently. I mean, she's also wearing a mask. If you wanted to keep her under there, you just put the mask down there too, and what's left of her hair. There's plenty to use.
so she jumps out of the hot tub or whatever, and she's like, "You killer!" Oh, so she knows that she killed her. Like, why is she calling her a killer? Just because she was going to kill
Maybe she was.
her?
Yeah, you attempted killer doesn't roll off the tongue as
Yeah.
well.
I was gonna say, how does she know she killed her husband? But anyway, you are a fool for punishment, says Gypsy Moth. And she throws her against the wall with her powers and pins her there with using her costume.
Yeah.
And but
This is where
just
you're like, oh, this book's about to get real hot.
yeah,
She's gonna
Jessica
have to get
Drew,
out of that costume.
she just rips herself out of the costume. But of course, all the bits and pieces are covered. Just her
Yeah.
arms and legs are exposed.
Yep.
And but she just punches Gypsy Moth, cracks her with the left hand, knocks her out. And well, first she just knocks her woozy. So Gypsy Moth is like in her semi-conscious state. The whole room starts flipping around, and all the cloth is spiraling. And then it just says
Yep.
Spider Woman does the only merciful thing and knocks her out, ending the maelstrom. But we don't see her actually hit. Like, how do you think she knocked her out?
Um,
Stomp to the
with a
head.
good logical argument, made her brain overheat.
But somehow she knocked her out, and yeah, her costume's all shat, like torn and tattered, um, and her hair. She looks a mess because her hairs are ripped in half. Like
Yeah.
her costume. She took a beating, and then
You
she
know
says,
what? When we were talking about issue number 50, doesn't she look? Does she have a short haircut in that one, or is her hair always
No,
magically grown
I was
back?
intrigued by this as well because I'm like, oh, is this just a way for them to give her a new costume and a new look? So I'm like, oh, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. So I went to the next issue, and she still does have the short hair. She trimmed it up to make it look a little nicer, but
Gotcha.
she still wears the same costume. So, but when she goes into her Spider Woman outfit, she has a big wig she puts on.
Oh,
So yeah.
gotcha. Vanity, thy name is Spider Woman.
But now she sees her buddy Lindsay, and she's passed out, and she picks her up and she's going to take her to the hospital. Then she turns around and Gypsy Moth is gone.
Dun dun
She,
dun.
she escaped.
Yeah,
So
she's not
yeah,
doing a very good job of knocking Gypsy Moth out because
I know.
it only seems to last about 3 seconds each time.
Then we get the bit where she's coming back from the hospital, and like you mentioned, how the hospital pumps brought up drugs I never heard of. But with a little sleep, Lindsay will be hungover, but fine. So now she wants to go check on her buddy Jack Russell, and she flies in the window of his apartment, and she just hears screaming coming from the back room. And this Jack Russell, earlier in the issue, is saying how he can't keep a job, because
Mhm.
always turning into a werewolf. Yet he must have a very fancy apartment because he has his own personal jail cell in the apartment, iron bars and everything.
Yeah. And not to
And
mention, like, you're a werewolf by night. Why can't you have a day job exactly? Why do you have to request time off?
that's a good question. Well, when he does turn into the werewolf, um, despite the name, doesn't he actually stay the werewolf for a while? I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I've never seen a werewolf be around in the daytime, except
We
like
did it.
Man Wolf, who is like, powered
We
by a
did a
weird
werewolf by
gemstone.
night in the first year of the show, and I can't remember all the details of it. But maybe we'll have to pick another one. There was that Moon Knight, and Moon Knight made his first appearance in Werewolf by Night. We could always do that. But yeah, so he's turned Jack. He's in a chair,
Hmm.
like chained down and locked. How how would he ever get out of this? If
Yeah, what is
he's
his plan for the morning?
yes, um,
Yeah.
but he's telling Jessica to get out of there because he's about to turn into a werewolf. But he does, and she says, "No, I'll see you through this one, my friend." And she's just standing there outside the bars, looking at him be a werewolf, and that's how the issue
Hope you
ends.
brought a book.
So, like I mentioned, next issue I looked in Jack Russell somehow. Again, she has a real problem with this, but she like looks away for a second and then she looks back and Jack Russell's gone. It's, he somehow busted out of the chains and got out of the window or something, the barred window.
Oh,
And
okay.
so it's like the same thing with Gypsy Moth. She turns around, she's gone. So yeah, this
Not
Jessica
the
Drew.
best private eye. Not a good attention to detail. Jessica Jones or Drew.
Apparently not. Yeah. Jessica Jones would never thought something like that happened. But
No.
Jessica Drew. So there you go. That's a Spider Woman issue 48. Their letters column with that bit from Ann Nesenti. It's called Venom Blasts. And yeah, and she gives this little speech, like she's so happy about writing Spider-Woman, and because she's like, I never let's say, so that's kind of how I happened to become scripter on this book, with Mark Grunwald figuratively holding my hand every step of the way. I undertook the task of stalking the mysterious Spider-Woman. I have now gotten to know Spider-Woman so well that she started following me around like a second shadow. I'm smitten with the lady and her adventures. I'm having a ball working with artist Brian Postman. I want you to love Spider-Woman as much as I do. So write in your comments, quibbles, gripes, squawks, and let me know what you think. There are exciting times ahead. Share them with us. Again, two
They
issues
must have
later.
thought this was, yeah. They must not have known this was ending, because that does not sound like the plans of someone who's got 4 issues of real
I
estate to
think
fill up.
they may have known, but they wouldn't told Anne.
Yeah. Oops.
So that's a shame. But all right, so what do you think there, Jank, about Spider-Woman and Gypsy Moth?
Well, like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of thematic going on here, other than I guess the guy with the weird pigeon fetish and Gypsy Moth and her band of people there. But I don't know. It's just kind of Spider-Woman's presence in the story was just kind of, I guess I'll fly around for a while and hope something happens. Maybe I'll go check out this drug thing. I don't know. Like, it seems pretty aimless. Like, normally you'd have like, oh, like if this was a Spider-Man story, he would be trying to get to Jack Russell, but things pop up and he has to go stop this crime. Where she's just like, I'm really looking for any excuse not to go see Jack Russell. Like, I'm gonna scrounge up something else, something better to do.
Right. I think the Lindsay would be drugged or something before, like getting her to the party because Lindsay's going to the same party. That works, but it would almost be like a more personal connection, like she was already drugged, or
Mm.
and she's trying to track down how the drugs got in her.
Yes, that would
So
make sense. Yep. Or some. Oh yeah, Lindsay didn't come home. I better go find her.
yeah, something to give it more urgency, just raise the
Yep.
stakes a little bit there. But
Yeah. Kind of coincidence that she just happened to run into her. Oh hey.
how about Gypsy Moth as a villain? Again, I just don't understand how Gypsy Moth ever loses a fight. She's like the
Yeah. It's one of those things like certain characters are just too powerful. Like Magneto, how does he ever lose a fight? Like just be like, oh, gravity doesn't apply to you anymore. Into the sun.
so would she's I don't think I've ever encountered the Gypsy Moth before, so
Oh, me neither. This is my first time, and I mean, there's potential, I guess. You could literally just like explode all your clothes off, and then you'd have to run home and get a new set before you could fight her. So
I remember
I would just do
Invisible
that.
Woman did that in that one issue we read.
Oh yeah.
Remember in the X-Men and Fantastic Four, she got so mad she just flipped her clothes off.
Yep. As you do. I'm guessing they won't do that in the new Fantastic Four movie.
I'm buying my ticket now if they do. But so yeah, Gypsy Moth, she doesn't seem the most intriguing villain, I would say. She seems a little dopey.
No.
But
Yeah, her whole backstory was kind of like, oh, okay, that explains why she killed that guy. But now she doesn't really have much other than, I don't know, I like people to worship me.
yeah, she's just a bum looking for pigeons. That's all she's
Yeah.
doing. So, but again, this is very early Anne Nesenti, like again, the first real book she ever wrote. So
Sure.
um, it's
The
understandable.
the way those punks were talking is just absurd to me though. It's like I don't know what this is. Like I
Yeah,
can't even follow this.
yeah, we should have given an example. I'm trying to pan through here. Go back to where they on the streets. The one guy says, "Listen, sharp, no metal. Sybarite wants soft and silky only because she likes the way plush feels." And then the one guy with the mohawk says, "For the money she's laying out, the queen of the scene will have the plushest we can find."
Let's
Let's.
kick, scrappers. Here's a ruddy razor.
This is Ritz, man. This
The
sweet lucre cigarette would dish out for this bossy loot. What the hell?
Yeah. Oh my God. What are these words? Where getting this Ann Nocenti? Like, I feel like Ann Nocenti may know more about drug culture than either of us because she is on another level.
Long as she keeps me and my vices happy, I'll follow her anywhere. Let's book sharps. So
Yeah, they're part like 50s greaser gang and part I don't know.
The Brian Postman art here, it's fine. It's nothing spectacular. It's like,
Yeah, it's serviceable. It's
yeah, middle of the road.
yeah. He can draw a good homeless guy, so I'll give him that. That's what you really are looking for in a
He's really good
superhero
at pigeon fetishes.
comic.
So yeah. So all right. Well, what do you think? 1 out of 10 for Spider Woman. 248.
Well, I guess on like a bad comic scale, I'll give it like a 6. It was a breezy read. Nothing too complicated other than the way those punks were talking, which just kind of made me scratch my head. But the pigeon guy, he was pretty great. So that might be worth a what the fuck moment in
That's
the awards coming up.
It's a fair
So
point. Yeah, it is almost award time here at Flea Market Fantasy. Every 50 issues, we look back at the best of the year. And yeah, the pigeon guy could be mentioned there. I'll go 5 out of 10, middle of the road.
yeah, that's about fair.
It's fine, but it doesn't make
Don't
me
go
want to
out
read
of your
more.
way to read it.
Yeah.
No.
So, all right, that's Spider Woman and Gypsy Moth. So next week here on the big show, Jank, we're going to do a book I've wanted to do for well over a year now. I've been talking about it.
Wow.
And
it's not Red Tornado because we just did that.
It is another red guy, though. We're going to be doing Thor issue 290.
Oh, I know.
1979, where he fights a professional wrestler named El Toro Rojo, the Red Bull. That's right. Thor, the god of thunder, fights a professional wrestler.
This is gonna be like that time Superman fought Muhammad Ali. Like, wait.
I
think it was like kryptonite, but
I wanted to do this in honor of WrestleMania, and wow, calendars are hard. And WrestleMania really snuck up on me. So by the time you're listening to this episode, WrestleMania would have already happened.
Yep.
Because we record ahead of time.
Would have had to done it last week, really, for it to be.
Yeah, it's so hard scheduling this. That's why we don't even have guests anymore, because I like to take naps and I always forget to talk to people. And by the time I remember to talk, oh, wait, we got to plan ahead because we got to say the next issue. So, yeah, it's a real pain in the ass. So, it'll be a week late, but it's all right. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's Thor fighting a professional wrestler. It's going to be great.
I got to see how they handicap this match because there's got to be something. Otherwise, this is going to be the shortest fight I've ever seen in my life.
I think it's an enchanted professional wrestler. I don't know.
Oh, okay. There you go.
I don't know if it's a Loki enchantment, but he seems to have super like.
Did Loki like poop on his head before the match or something like that?
That's a Vince McMahon
magic poop.
If you don't know. But something about his horns and his costume or something. I don't know. But we'll find out next week here on the big show. So once again, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We appreciate the support. And until next week, don't get any jank on you.